whether you just finished up Hanukkah, which ended last night, or if you're going into Christmas, the next 2 days are hustle bustle for certain. Uh, and Christmas is such a fun time of year. And sometimes it's like Thanksgiving when you get the family together, there's always those family dynamics. And I loved what I learned from Dr. Henry Cloud. I put it in a Sunday Thoughts at Thanksgiving time because you were going to dinner with everyone. Yet Christmas, a lot of times we're around family. And he says we live in one of four corners. And the first one is isolation, where we just say, you know what, I'm going to stay in the kitchen and cook, or I'm going to keep myself really busy so I don't have to talk to anybody. That way, everything will be fine. Other than then we start getting anxious and we start to feel lonely, right? Corner number two is where people can make you feel bad or you take on guilt, right? Guilt is something that it seems like a lot of kids grow up with. The mothers tend to putting guilt depending on how you were brought up, right? And then we start feeling like we're not good enough or we're ashamed or like we're somewhat of a disappointment. And then we go into disappointment. We start questioning our worth. And the third corner is where some people, well, they have to have a drink in their hand or they take some kind of a pill to kind of calm them down, right? So they can handle everything. But the fourth corner is where I love to see people living, and that's real connection. That is where you get to experience the genuineness, the closeness of people.
It was November 2005 when I packed my clothes and all the books that would fit in my car and headed to Austin, Texas. I left my friends, my grandkids, my fiance, a profitable company I owned, making over $1 million a year, to lead a consulting company that was a division inside the fourth largest real estate company in America at the time. I left everything familiar to me to walk into something that I didn't even know if it was going to work. Or, I mean, the first night when I sat alone in that townhouse that I rented, I kept asking myself, what was I thinking, for heaven's sakes? I thought of the quote from John Maxwell, you've got to give up to go up. And I was giving up a lot. Yet that night I was wondering if I was actually going up or taking a deep dive down a rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland. Sitting there in that silence, a memory came back to me from when I started real estate. I know that was before many of you were even born that are listening to this, and some of you were so young that you weren't even thinking about business at the time, for heaven's sakes. I had the privilege of driving Jim Rohn, a great philosopher, to the venue where he was to speak. And I had the privilege and opportunity to actually introduce him. Being in the car, talking about personal growth, he turned to me and he said, Dianna, set a goal to make $1 million. $1 million, I thought. I mean, I didn't even dare tell him that I couldn't afford a babysitter. So I'd been putting my kids in a little red wagon going door to door with my kids in tow. I mean, back then, to me, $1 million, that was like a pipe dream. Now, just to give you the perspective today, that would be around 3.5 million, right? And then Jim Rohn said the line that touched my heart. It didn't only touch my heart, it grabbed my heart. He said, don't set the goal to make $1 million for the money. Set the goal for what it will make of you. Well, for who you will become. And you'll be able to help other people by adding value to them. And I thought, yes, I desire to add value to other people. I desire to help them. And that helped me remember the reason I said yes to Austin, Texas. Yes to a turnaround. Yes to building something new. Because saying yes opens the door to growth. Saying yes introduces you to the next version of yourself. And after all, saying yes gives you more opportunity to give a better story, to make a better story, to live a better story. And after all, the story of our life is all we leave behind. I'm not talking about the kind of opportunity that you find in your comfort zone that it is easy for you to do. I'm talking about the kind that's going to stretch you, the kind that is challenging you, the kind that makes you think bigger, that allows you to pour more skill, that you've got to have that personal growth. At that point, I knew I was staying in Austin. I was going to give it all I had. And I knew that that company needed a new story. And that's true for each and every one of us, because the story that we're currently living is today, who we're being today. And we have to say yes to be more, do more, have more, and eventually give more. So I've got to tell you that I heard this lady speak one day, and she said, we're just so used to settling. We don't want to say yes, because yes could hold us back to our best ideas, our best laid plans, and our best dreams. And we put them in a someday pile. Well, I got to tell you, that someday pile generally means the never pile. And it's because saying yes sometimes is outside our comfort zone. Are you not saying yes because of money? Or is it simply easier for you to take a stand for your limitations rather than to take a stand for our greatness? Because each time we say yes, that experience gives us more chapters for the story of our life, more stories for the library that makes up the stories that we have lived. So when John Maxwell called and invited me to join his inner circle many years ago with 13 others, I said yes. And then he asked me to attend an event called Exchange 23 years ago. And every year I said yes. And I continue to say yes. And when the company came to me, the president called me into her office and she said, Dianna, I know we're in a crisis during real estate. It was 2000. And she said, people are closing their doors. Other real estate agents are getting out of the business. Write a program that will help our agents. I said, yes. And that program helped our company. That program helped our agents. While other agents did get out of the business, our agents doubled their production. Our agents went up when everybody else was going down. So I got to ask you, what should you be saying yes to that would be helping other people? What should you be saying yes to that would help develop yourself? Now, I know you're all successful in different ways, and even with the success that you've had, it's only natural to desire more. Yet I got to ask you, are you stuck in your comfort zone? Do you continue with the same routines, or are you allowing a new chapter to your story to emerge? Because the new chapter only comes when we step out of our comfort zone, when we step out of that routine and we say yes to new experiences. And today, I'm going to invite you to look at your new experiences. Look at things that you could be doing to help others grow. Look at experiences that force you to get to the next level, that force you to grow and force you to build a new story around business and your life. See, if you want your business to grow, then personal growth is the answer, because your businesses are going to grow to the extent that you do. And if you desire more, if you desire for things to be better, then you've got to become more. You have to become better. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank stated personal growth was one of the top things that made him wealthy. My dad told me to watch my money, yet don't hold back, he said, on 3 things. A good mattress, because you need a good night's rest. Buy good shoes, so you can stand all day if necessary. And personal growth. Invest in your personal growth so you can accomplish great things. Because success comes when we say yes and we take personal growth and make it a priority and we take action. Now, last July, my granddaughter and I were being extras on The Chosen. It was such a privilege. And standing there on the set and looking around, seeing the cameramen put all the cameras in position and the makeup artist making those last minute touch-ups. Finally, someone called, quiet on the set. And as we sat there in that silence, we were anticipating what would happen next. And then Dallas Jenkins, the director, yelled 2 words. Those 2 words everyone was waiting for. And action. He didn't yell and talk, because talk is cheap. He didn't yell and think, because the thinking had already been done. He said and action. Because too many people sit around and talk about things and they think about things, yet they never take action. You know, Jeremy Brown was one of those people. He was with the Oakland A's. He was the catcher. He was a great hitter, yet he couldn't run. And of course, he was teased all the time about his running. And only one day he said, I am tired of this. I'm going to go to second base, because he always stopped at first. That was his comfort zone. So he gets up to bat and he hits the ball, and this time he runs past first. He takes action. He takes and says yes to second base. Only all of his worst nightmares come running back to him. And he pivots and starts to go back to first base, and he falls. And as he fell to the ground, he started crawling towards first base, and he's hugging it tight. And he looks up to see if he's out. The umpire was laughing at him. The first baseman was laughing at him. The fans were laughing at him. And you know what? They were laughing because Jeremy had hit a home run and he didn't even know it. You know, there's a realtor named Bayard Bitar. He's up in Canada. Great man, and he had a dream that was sitting in his someday pile. He desired to climb mountains. Well, he read my book, Becoming More. And then he decided to say yes, to make personal growth a priority and to take action. And then he sent me a video where he was reading my book, and he said, what books are you reading and rereading? And where are your books taking you? And then the film showed where he was at. He was on Mount Kilimanjaro, 44 feet. He took my book to new heights. So I got to ask you, are you going to be like Jeremy Brown, hugging on to your first base, hugging on to that comfort zone? Or are you going to be like Bayard Bitar, who decided to say yes, to make personal growth a priority, and to take action? Because those 3 things will actually turn things around. I know they work because that's what we did with that consulting division. I said yes to being a leader, to being the CEO. And we changed the story from a consulting division to a coaching division. And we tracked everything. And the biggest difference between the top producers and the rest, where the top producers were willing to say yes to get outside their comfort zone, to make personal growth a priority, and to take action. Now, that company went from 1 bookkeeper, 1 consultant, and myself to 494 specialized coaches doing one-on-one coaching, group coaching, bold coaching out in the market centers and offices, many other forms of training. You too can decide what you desire to have in your life. Yet it'll never happen unless you do those 3 things. 1, take action. 2, make personal growth a priority. And 3, take action by saying yes. Say yes, make personal growth a priority, and take action. Those 3 things will help you. Thank you for listening. I'm Dianna Kokoszka, and I am here to help you become more. Actually, Dante, let's do this. Hi, I'm Dianna Kokoszka, and I'm here to help you become more. If you've liked what you've heard, hit that subscription button down below, and let's stay in touch.